What exactly does the expression, the pen is mightier than the sword, really mean? This week's Torah portion of Parshat Tetzave, the Torah tells us about the various accoutrements and the various utensils that adorned the inner chambers of the Mishkan, of the tabernacle. We're all familiar with the Kodesh HaKodashim, which was the Holy of Holies. You could not enter it, you could not feast your eyes upon it. Only the Kohen Gadol, the high priest, would enter it once a year. But yet, even the Holy of Holies needed also to be tended to. How exactly did they fix things within this particular holy chamber of chambers? The Gemara describes that what they used to do is they would take Kohanim priests and they would lower them into the room in a box, which was called a teva. In the teva, their eyes could only look forward, and they could only feast their eyes upon the particular part of the portion of the temple of the Holy of Holies that they had to fix. They would do their job, and then they were hoisted above and taken out of the Holy of Holies. What's interesting is that the teva is a box, but the teva, the word teva, also means words. And what we see here is that in order to be lowered into the Holy of Holies, in order to be someone who is fixing and involved in sacrament and sacred things, a person has to also know how to use their teva. Not only fixing physically, but to use their tevot, to use their words properly. The pen indeed is mightier than the sword. Our words, the way we speak, what we say, how we say, has impact and can certainly create sanctity in this world, or the opposite, God forbid. I remember the famous story, I tell it all the time, about Gila, when she was in a psychiatric hospital, and she met someone there who was transforming from being a woman to a man. This person became a man, and he would always come to the Azkara, the yahrzeit of Gila, every year. And I asked him, why do you always come? After all, you only knew Gila for about 2 weeks tops. How did you cement such a rapport or relationship with her? And he said to me an amazing thing. He said, in the hospital, all of the staff would never recognize that he wanted to be a male, and they would call him according to feminine form. The only person who respected his wishes in what he wanted to be, in what he wished to be, was Gila. She would always address him in the male form, even though he was still female. This is an amazing thing, because Gila herself was in pain, and yet she was sensitive enough to understand to use those words, those sensitive words, those sensitivities, in order to embrace someone and make them feel comfortable. I myself am not so careful with words. I wish I could learn from Gila more how to sensitize myself, how to use the proper tevot, the proper words in the proper times to create more sanctity in this world. So should we. Shabbat shalom.